Welcome to Great Travel Documentary, where every city has a secret, and we're here to tell it. Never before in American history has it been so easy to become homeless in a city once seen as the heart of the American dream. Welcome to New York, where the Statue of Liberty still holds her torch high, but the lights of Times Square can no longer reach the shadows of despair. Beneath the facade of prosperity and innovation, a significant social challenge persists, turning the city that never sleeps into a nightmare for over 350,000 individuals without a permanent place to call home each night. From the towering skyscrapers of Manhattan to the quieter boroughs like Staten Island, the homelessness crisis not only affects those directly impacted, but also reflects the broader economic and social disparities within this iconic metropolis. In this travel documentary, we'll step past the city's glamorous veneer to uncover the hidden corners no one dares to mention. Places where even the police hesitate to tread, and where the American dream is rotting little by little in the weary gaze of forgotten residents. Are you ready to explore the dark side of the most vibrant and luxurious city in America? Let's start right now. New York, the city that symbolizes the American dream, has perhaps never been as dazzling as we imagine. But it has also never been as chillingly frightening as it is now. Right in the heart of the world's cultural, financial, and media center, a homelessness crisis is surging to its highest point since the Great Depression of the 1930s. As of August 2024, an estimated 350,000 people across New York State lack a permanent place to stay, with over 150,000 relying on the city's shelter system each night. In New York City alone, around 4,140 individuals sleep on the streets, in parks, or on the subway, while 132,000 cram into shelters that are often overcrowded and under-resourced. Over the past 2 decades, the number of homeless people in New York has soared by 175%, with a brief 25% decline during the pandemic due to eviction moratoriums and emergency rental assistance, only to rebound sharply. Families make up a staggering 71% of those in shelters, including nearly 46,000 children, a striking reflection of the depth of this crisis in one of the world's wealthiest cities. From Manhattan's subway stations to the Bronx's sidewalks, tattered tents and makeshift shelters sprout like weeds, with trash piling up and the smell of despair lingering in the air, becoming a part of the urban landscape New Yorkers are learning to accept. Behind every statistic in New York's homelessness crisis are real people with stories of shattered dreams, like Lydia, Liza, and Richard, who fight daily to survive amidst unimaginable hardship. Lydia, a 72-year-old woman who has been homeless for over 40 years, once lived in a rent-controlled apartment but was evicted when the leaseholder left. Despite qualifying for Social Security benefits due to medical reasons, her application was never processed. No one stood up to help her reclaim her right to a locked door. "No matter where I live, I'm a square peg. I don't fit," she shared, her voice heavy with resignation as she stopped dreaming long ago, focusing only on surviving the present. Liza, a teenage girl who should be nurturing ambitions, instead wanders the streets, finding refuge in front of a church gate to avoid lurking dangers. When asked about her wish, she whispered, "I wish I had my own place to stay, where people were all kind to each other, and there was no war." Her pure hope amidst chaos evokes a profound sorrow in anyone who hears her story. Richard, once a family man with a stable job, lost everything after his wife fell seriously ill, piling up medical bills that led to eviction. He tried a shelter, but its shabby conditions drove him back to the streets, where he now faces the pain of being seen as an unnamed object by passersby. These stories are not isolated. They represent hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers caught in a cycle where dreams are replaced by the daily struggle to survive. New York's homelessness crisis didn't erupt overnight. It's a slow-burning tragedy fueled by decades of systemic neglect, soaring living costs, and a widening economic gap that leaves the most vulnerable stranded. The city has officially surpassed San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. to become the most expensive place to live in the U.S., with a simple breakfast costing nearly $20, a dozen eggs at $9, and essential food prices rising 75 to 90% in recent years. Meanwhile, Incomes for the elderly, retirees, and those on Social Security have only increased by less than 25%, leaving many unable to cover basic expenses like food, medicine, and transportation, costing $1,200 to $1,500 monthly, not including housing. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan exceeds $4,000 per month, and over 40% of New Yorkers spend 50% or more of their income just to have a roof over their heads, far exceeding the recommended 30%. According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, there are only 36 affordable apartments for every 100 low-income households, meaning over 70 families are forced to fend for themselves or end up on the streets. Adding to this, the influx of over 175,000 immigrants in the past 2 years has overwhelmed an already strained support system, with many ending up in overcrowded shelters or on sidewalks, creating tensions between native residents and newcomers. This crisis is a symptom of a broader systemic failure, one that punishes vulnerability rather than providing support, leaving even the working class and middle class teetering on the edge of homelessness. New York's response to homelessness often prioritizes image over solutions, with policies that clear encampments for cosmetic relief rather than addressing the root causes, pushing the most vulnerable deeper into the shadows. In Manhattan, the city conducts regular sweeps to remove encampments from high-profile areas like Times Square and Penn Station. Yet these measures offer only temporary relief. Displaced individuals soon return, as seen in the tunnel near the Hudson River in Upper Manhattan, an underground shantytown filled with trash and human waste. The city has spent over $2 billion in a year to support immigrants and the homeless, but shelters are overwhelmed, with over 150,000 people relying on a system that lacks capacity. In wealthier neighborhoods, opposition to new shelters, like the conversion of the Wyndham Garden Hotel in Ridgewood Park, Queens, complicates efforts to build housing solutions, leaving thousands with no safe place to go. Even more alarming, areas like Hell's Kitchen and W39th Street have become forbidden zones, where even police hesitate to patrol regularly, with one officer admitting, "Stepping into the alleys here is no different from playing a survival game. It's really too risky." These policies and the lack of sustainable housing options create a vicious cycle of displacement and invisibility, where the core issue remains unresolved and the homeless, like the elusive mole people living in subway tunnels, are pushed further to the margins of society. Homelessness in New York isn't just a personal tragedy. It's a public emergency that ripples through every part of the community, exposing the deep socioeconomic divide in a city of 1.6 million residents. In Manhattan, over 4,000 people are without homes, often seen in subway stations, parks, and street corners, while in the Bronx, with the highest poverty rate in the city, 1,458 individuals struggle, many trapped in generational homelessness. Queens, despite its affluence, has 1,219 homeless individuals, many of whom are employed but cannot afford rent, turning Jamaica Station into an overnight refuge that discomforts commuters. Brooklyn's 1,157 homeless residents face rising social tensions, with protests in areas like Bensonhurst over new shelters and discarded needles in Sunset Park alarming small business owners. Buffalo's harsh winters exacerbate the plight of its 1,432 homeless, while even smaller areas like Staten Island, 26 people, and Syracuse, 25 to 30 people, feel the strain, with veterans in Syracuse reflecting the challenges of reintegration. Albany, the state capital, has 750 unhoused individuals, highlighting the gap between economic ambitions and social challenges. These conditions overburden hospitals with preventable health issues, strain law enforcement with nonviolent incidents, and create tension in communities as frustration replaces compassion. When a city tolerates such disparity, where skyscrapers tower over shanty towns, what kind of prosperity are we truly celebrating? In a city that once promised opportunity for all, regardless of skin color, nationality, or circumstances, the American dream is turning into an endless nightmare for thousands of New Yorkers, including the elderly, children, and immigrants. The elderly, who once built this city with their labor, now face impossible choices, spending pensions of less than $1,800 a month on medicine or dinner, with many wandering Central Park in winter to avoid a $5 public restroom fee. Children, numbering nearly 46,000 in shelters, grow up without a place to call home, learning to beg before they can spell, their childhood tied to cold benches and streetlights. Immigrants, arriving with hopes of a new beginning. 175,000 in 2 years from places like Venezuela, Haiti, and the Middle East, find themselves on waiting lists for overcrowded shelters, often ending up on sidewalks, feeling hated and abandoned by the city that once welcomed the world. The mole people, estimated at 5,000 to 25,000, live in dangerous subway tunnels, symbolizing not just physical displacement, but social invisibility. When dreams are reduced to survival, and a stable home becomes a luxury, what future is left for those who believed in New York's promise? In New York, even those who wake up at 5 a.m., work 2 jobs, pay taxes, and contribute to society are being pushed to the brink of homelessness as the middle class, once the stable pillar of America, crumbles under an unrealistic cost of living. A full-time worker earning minimum wage would need to work over 80 hours a week just to afford a $4,000 one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan, a price that forces many to spend 50% or more of their income on housing, nearly double the recommended 30%. Entire working-class communities are being priced out, with families needing $8,000 to $10,000 a month after taxes to maintain stability, an unimaginable figure for most white-collar workers. Even those with college degrees and steady jobs, like delivery drivers, janitors, or office workers, face the risk of homelessness with just one unexpected bill, job loss, or hour cut. Many sleep in cars or shelters while still going to work in midtown offices, living between 2 worlds, exemplary employees by day, homeless wanderers by night. The Pew Research Center reports the middle class in the U.S. has shrunk by 11% over 20 years, with the decline even faster in New York. When hard work no longer guarantees a home, what does the American dream mean for those who keep this city running? New York doesn't need more temporary fixes or cosmetic sweeps. It needs comprehensive solutions to address the root causes of homelessness and restore dignity to those who've been forgotten. The Housing First model, which prioritizes stable housing without preconditions, has cut chronic homelessness by up to 80% in some cities and should be expanded, providing a foundation for addressing employment, healthcare, and education. Increasing the supply of affordable housing is critical. Investing in construction, implementing rent control, and offering subsidies can bridge the gap, as there are only 36 affordable units for every 100 low-income households. Enhancing support services, such as mental health care, substance abuse treatment, job training, and legal assistance, can empower individuals to rebuild their lives. Technological innovations, like mobile apps and data analytics, can connect the homeless to resources and help allocate support efficiently. Community involvement is vital. Nonprofits like People's Path and Staten Island provide food, clothing, and medical care, but they need support through donations and volunteering. In Brooklyn, community discussions in areas like Sunset Park show the potential for balancing economic growth with social responsibility. We must foster public awareness to destigmatize homelessness, encouraging compassionate action. Join us in this fight. Support local organizations, advocate for affordable housing, and share your thoughts in the comments to amplify these voices. Together, we can create a New York where no one is left in the shadows. New York, once a beacon of opportunity where dreams began, is now a place where many dreams end in a nightmare, a cracked mirror reflecting the disintegration of the American dream amidst a city of 1.6 million. When you walk past gleaming skyscrapers in Midtown only to see someone curled up next to an emergency exit, or when the bustling streets of Manhattan contrast with the underground shanty towns near the Hudson River, you realize inequality is no longer hidden. It's a vivid, painful wound. The elderly shiver in the rain, unable to afford a $5 restroom fee. Children dream under streetlights, their innocence lost to survival, and immigrants, once welcomed by the Statue of Liberty, now sleep on cold sidewalks. New York is leading America, but leading in what? The speed of rent increases, the number of homeless, or the widening gap between rich and poor. If a city that once offered opportunities to all regardless of circumstances no longer has room for the poor, the elderly, and those who built its foundation, what future is left for the rest of America? When darkness spreads from a city once called the heart of opportunity, we must ask ourselves, is there anywhere bright enough to guide the rest? Or will we continue to let the homeless in America fade into the shadows? New York's homeless crisis is not just a statistic. It's a heart-wrenching reality for over 350,000 souls, a silent scream echoing through the city's glittering streets, begging for our attention and compassion. If their stories of struggle and resilience have touched you, don't let this moment slip away. Act now to make a difference. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's spark a conversation that can drive change. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel to keep these critical stories alive and reach a wider audience. But more than that, take a stand today. Support local organizations like People's Path in Staten Island or the Coalition for the Homeless by donating, volunteering, or advocating for affordable housing in your community. Together, we can turn New York's nightmare into a renewed dream for all, ensuring no one is left to fade into the shadows. Join us on this journey, and stay tuned for our next travel documentary, where we'll continue to uncover the untold stories that matter most. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon, because change begins with us. This video does not bring judgment, nor does it call for drama. It is simply a mirror reflecting a dark corner that society sometimes wants to forget, the ones that need to be mentioned the most. Please note, the information in the video is compiled from public and reliable sources. The video is not intended to incite, criticize individuals, or provide financial legal advice. Viewers should consider additional information before making a decision.